being forced into a technology, but they haven't been receiving the service to get you through to get to that technology. And now they're talking about turning it all off from 2020 and a process therein, and the Commerce Commission writing rules about all this sort of stuff. And I think if they've listened to this program this afternoon over the last hour, they'd have to say there's a lot of people who are very dissatisfied with the situation as it is, and we're still a way away from actually leaping into the future and getting rid of the copper completely. Paul, hello, welcome to the program.
Oh, hi, Andrew. How are you?
I'm good.
I was just giving you a quick call because I've been in the sort of position where I've worked both as a public relations consultant in the fibre space, and my wife works at one of the big telcos. And you're right, it's unbelievably complex process, the rollout of fibre. The reality was, telecom, as some people, referred to it, was actually separated by an act of law, back under the Helen Clark government. So you read out a text before saying, telecom's making Chorus do this. Well, telecom hasn't existed, I think, since, for like 9 years. But the reality is Vodafone, Spark, 2 Degrees, all have to buy services off of Chorus, and Chorus operates completely independently.
Yep.
And then you have local fibre companies in each area. So even if you book your fibre through the likes of Spark or Vodafone, it is a Chorus person coming around to install it. They don't actually get to install the product, because essentially they're just selling you data packages, very much like an electricity company, sells you power, but Vector run and maintain the lines. So it is, I know from, sort of hearing from people inside the business, that they're actually really, really frustrated by the service that's provided by Chorus, but they certainly didn't mandate it in that way. And they have to negotiate and buy those services from Chorus.
Yeah. I read out a text. I know the problem with it as well, but it was actually mandated from the government when doing the demerger of everything and coming up with someone who provides the wires and other people who provide the service, and then the way they all talk about it. And there's also that whole Kiwi share that was part of everything,
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
and
there's a thing called operational separation, which is to take, telecom from a vertical monopoly and split it into 2 companies, which was Spark as the, what's now Spark as the retail arm, and Chorus as the wholesale arm.
Yeah. Okay, so, and Chorus are the wire guys, And here's the thing, because of that whole Kiwi share agreement concerning the copper being used by the telcos, if the telcos convert completely to like fibre, well, copper's part of the original agreement, and part of that was in there to provide free local calls.
Correct. Yeah.
I have a number of texts saying we're worried that if we end up being forced into a fully fibre network and the destruction of the copper network, that this will be a chance to get rid of the free local calls.
Yeah, possibly, but the reality is the copper network's getting really, really old, and it's breaking down and won't be replaced. So what's happening is you're still getting fibre to the exchanges anyway. So even when they go to 5G, you will still have to have fibre going to the transmitters to send, those levels of data through it. I think the reality is in time the copper network will run into disrepair and breakdown. I think that's inevitable. Yeah,
but there's a number of people who have also just have a feeling as though Chorus is quite happy, in fact, accelerating the running down of the copper network, just a little bit ahead of time. And, you've got to bring people with you. You can't force them against their will. And I've had more than enough people phoning me up over the course of this afternoon saying, we're not ready, we're fine as we are, do not want to do this, do not want trenches dug through our house right now. We'll get there eventually, but perhaps we're just pushing it a bit fast. It is 3:21. It's NewstalkZB. NewstalkZB. Hello, Kerry.
Hey, Andrew. How are you?
I'm very well.
This fibre thing. I'll tell you a quick little story. We actually saw the ad on TV saying you're going to have fibre. You're going to have it. It's this close, and everything else is going to be fantastic, and everything else. Well, that's where we got sucked in. We
It's a brave new world.
That's about as good as it gets. We got told that because we rang up and said, yes, can we get it? We got told that we're a back house and only if your neighbours agree that we can dig up your driveway.
Yep.
So we went and asked our neighbours. They were pretty happy. wrote the letter back to say, yeah, by all means, neighbours are happy, by all means, and then they checked up on it, and they said, apparently one of your neighbours is not happy, that's it. Nothing's going to happen.
Yep.
About a week later, I come home, and they're digging up the driveway, and had actually connected everything up to the house, and wanting them to get in, bar the little box that goes inside, so I could let them in the house. And I explained to them, what's going on, and they said, oh, no, one of the neighbours ran back and said it's okay to go ahead. And I said, whatever. Anyway, long story shorter again, because it's all done on a percentage on your, they guarantee 100%, like as in speed and everything else, and we were sitting at 35% before we got it. When we got it all connected, it dropped to about 15%, and we were struggling to get anything online, taking hours and hours to get stuff on and everything else. So we rang them up and said we want to cancel it. Then they said, well, you can't do that unless you pay $199.
Yeah. Awesome.
So we jumped ship and went somewhere else. But, yeah, my God, whoever's out there thinking about getting fibre, don't. Jingos, it's worse. I mean, there was one guy rang up and said he's fantastic with it and happy with it. I wish I was him.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a mate who actually did it, and he ended up having to go back home every day for 5 days in a row as they basically tried to put the little box in and ripped out all his walls. At the end of the day, he's got a damn great furrow down the middle of his driveway, and he's got walls that aren't as good as before, and he's going, was that actually worth it? You know?
Yeah, I know. Why can these people get away with it, though? I mean, it's... people need to...
Because it was the future. It was the best that they could think of at the time, and maybe somebody didn't think about it enough, and I think that was the theme of today's show. Thank you, Kerry. Sorry, got to move on. Got a full board. Just want to do this one here. Hi, regarding the fibre, we had a private road resealed and through hard work convinced Enable in Christchurch to install fibre before the new seal. Never seen a more unprofessional business. Contractors with no English digging with their bare hands. Now the road is done and people are trying to get connected. Unfortunately, no surprises, they're all back smashing holes in the new seal to fix up all the stuff-ups where the fibre wasn't run properly. Awesome. Alan, hello.
Yes, good afternoon, Andrew. First of all, I'm sorry to hear the news of one of your colleagues being struck down with this terrible disease. That's not much good.
Well, we're wishing them all the very best of luck and all that sort of... They found it early.
Good. Now, about this fibre business, next time you get an expert on, would you do them the favour of asking me a question, please? Could you ask them, will the fibre continue to operate when the power goes off? That is to say, when we have another earthquake, will I still be able to phone my family and tell them that I'm okay? The cell towers will go down, and under the old system with copper wire, I could simply pick up the phone and wind the handle, and it generated its own electricity, and the telephone message went through to my daughter in Oamaru.
Yep.
I'm just wondering whether fibre will allow me to do the same.
I don't know. Question I've been wanting to ask as well. Sorry, Alan, we've got a bit of an echo on the line, so I'm just going to put you on hold for a bit. That's a question I've been wanting to ask. Another question, as a number of people have said, the problem we have with fibre is it's made out of glass, is it not? And is it fragile in an earthquake, knowing that we are, a shaky country, Alan? Do you know?
No, I don't know the answer to that, although I'm very happy with the service that I have.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you so much. 0800 80 10 80. When it works, it works. It's amazing. But it's got to work for everyone before we can actually get rid of the copper. Don't you think? Don't you think that's the attitude? Andre.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey.
So I'm an electrical technician, and the guy before asked a question. I figured I'd answer it before he stopped listening.
Does fibre need power to operate?
Yes.
Well,
as soon as your fibre comes across, the fibre comes into the house and goes into your router. It's actually your router that is creating your phone line. You don't have a real phone line anymore.
No.
But,
okay, the question, Andre, is, therefore, in an earthquake, when you lose power, you lose the phone.
100%. Phone's gone.
Is this a good call?
I find it extremely frustrating. I do alarm monitoring, and so every time someone changes to fibre, we have to put a cellular device in.
Which will go down in an earthquake as well, as we found out with Christchurch. As soon as the batteries run out, well, we're mute.
Yeah. Insurance still covers you, though, because
No, that's not the point, mate. That's not the point. That's not the point. In a national emergency, when you need to phone, you need to phone. And if no phones are working, well, then we're stuffed. Here's a text for you from LK. Andrew, none of the changes we see from so-called government agencies seem to take any account of what-if scenarios. And with the digitization of everything, with the fibre that needs the power, what if we have a major earthquake? What if a major volcanic eruption? What if a solar electromagnetic storm? What if a nuclear thing, it is vulnerable, it sounds to us.
Oh, 100%. I am of the belief that when they're dropping in your fibre, there is no need for them to cut the copper line. The only reason they're cutting that is to save on maintenance costs. You could still have a phone line on copper and your internet on fibre.
Yep.
But if you want to do that, they'll be charging you an extra $60 a month.
So, we've seen them all physically pulling the copper out, and I've had allegations that, of course, Chorus knows that because copper has such a big price on the international market right now. Would that be a fair enough bow to draw?
The Chorus techs, from the ones I've talked to, get about 4 weeks or so of training, and then they're out on the job. So if you're someone from a background like me, that's fine. You already know what you're doing. But some of the guys coming over, they're following a manual. And so if it says cut the line, they cut the line. And if they want to keep the copper, they do.
Awesome. The copper that we spend so much money as a nation putting in the first place, which tends to work if you maintain it. It's 21 to 4. It's NewstalkZB. I didn't know that about the fibre. I've been getting text after text after text. The fibre is routed if you have a power cut. Done. And that is where we're heading. We are talking about the Commerce Commission coming up with rules. They're quite concerned about a 111 scenario, making sure that we have the ability to phone the emergency services. If it ain't broke, why pull it out? It is 20 to 4, NewstalkZB. Andrew, I feel like I'm listening to a show where all the Somerset Retirement Village ring to complain about everything. I have fibre, would not go back to the way it was. Like any company that deals with public money, Chorus is just another monkey. Thank you, George. Someone else says, you're getting a lot of false information from your callers. Well, if they're saying they've had a nightmare trying to get it in and they've been waiting 4 to 16 months to get the fibre in, that doesn't seem to me like a false information. Anyway, the fibre cabinets on the street have battery backups, and if you have a battery backup on your device that converts fibre to copper, not your router, as the last caller said, then you will retain a phone line. However, in an earthquake of a large scale, it could disrupt all cabling, copper, fibre, coax, etc., so nobody will have any type of communication anyway. Someone else writes, the best option for the fibre outage issue is to run a UPS. I know what that stands for, uninterrupted power source, which is a battery back unit. A simple one sells for about $160 to $200, which will keep your fibre and associated modem running for 6 to 8 hours or possibly more, as the world falls apart in a massive earthquake for the next 3 months. Anyway, if you have a major event like an earthquake and the copper line breaks, you still have no phone anyway. Andy, thank you for that text. And I just believe that the copper lines are just a little bit more rugged and capable of taking the shocks than the glass fibre.